Here I have an article from Public Intelligence blog. This is from September 3rd, actually. This came across my news feed. I read it over, and this is actually a pretty big deal. So this is from Rebecca Campbell. It says U.S. government loses vaccine lawsuit, has lied to the public for decades. Vaccines not tested. Autism will drop if parents use this case to legally challenge mandated vaccinations. All right, so here, real quick, let's watch this video.
Bobby Kennedy and I, and the nonprofit ICANN, the Informed Consent Action Network, we submitted a FOIA request simply looking for any sort of documents related to the work done by HHS pursuant to this mandate by the 86th Vaccine Injury Compensation Act. We want to see 30 years of that 2-year report you're mandated to give Congress that shows that you are making vaccines safer. Well, it went all the way to court, and they decided to settle. The Department of Health and Human Services conducted a thorough search of its document tracking systems. The department's searches for records did not locate any records responsive to your request. We got nothing. Zilch, Zippo, this court order right here points out the one government agency that's supposed to be protecting us is not doing its job. And it's signed for Informed Consent Action Network at the very end. Yours truly, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., one of the great environmental attorneys of our time. Bobby, I really want to thank you for joining us.
What HHS has admitted here is that there is no scrutiny. There is no vigilance. Most Americans don't understand this, that prior to being licensed, every other pharmaceutical drug and pharmaceutical product has to go through rigorous, randomized, double-blind, placebo testing. Vaccines alone are immune from that. So instead of 5-year tests with true placebos, vaccines sometimes get only a few hours of safety testing or a few days. And of course, that's not long enough to spot injuries with long incubation periods like autism, like ADD, like food allergies, like autoimmune diseases. And really, Del, what it shows is the lackadaisical, the cavalier, the casual attitude HHS has towards vaccine safety.
This is the first time I'm getting to even have the opportunity to congratulate you on what we've just achieved in this order.
This is the first of a barrage of legal approaches that we've devised, a legal strategy that we believe will ultimately protect these children finally and bring justice to the families who've been injured. We expect to make a larger and larger and larger impression as we go. So I'm very encouraged about our future.
Me too. The federal government has failed us. Demand that your state representatives step up by always allowing you to choose whether you want to vaccinate your child or not, when and how often. Because this is part of the biggest lie ever told. If you like that...
U.S. government loses landmark vaccine lawsuit. Vaccine injury lawyer Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dale Bigtree, producer of the suppressed anti-vaccine documentary Vaxxed, and the Informed Consent Action Network, ICANN, are credited with this victory. They demanded the relevant government documents proving that all federally approved vaccines had been tested for quality over the past 32 years, and there were none. Here are the huge legal and practical implications of this legal victory for the American people. This means that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and all vaccine makers have been lying to the American people for over 30 years about the effectiveness and safety of vaccines. This may ultimately mean that continuing the existence, at least in their current form, of 5 U.S. healthcare agencies are now in doubt: the CDC, the FDA, the IOM, the NIH, and the health part of the DHHS itself. This may also threaten the existence of state medical boards and exclusive medical guilds like the AMA. This means that vaccine makers have been fraudulently exempt from what all other pharmaceutical drug makers have been forced to do concerning biannual recertification for quality and effectiveness, meaning that their vaccines have never been tested for quality and have had no proven safety or effectiveness for over 30 years. This case can now be legally cited by all parents fraudulently mandated by any government organizational regulation requirements that they must vaccinate their children for school or any other activity to stop the forced vaccination of their children. This case can now be legally cited by all employees being mandated by their employers to be vaccinated in order to retain their jobs. This case can now be legally cited by all those who seek compensation for vaccine injury, making it likely that the pharmaceutical vaccine injury can in the near future be legally bankrupted out of existence, like Bayer Monsanto, after the landmark legal victory won by the dying landscaper in San Francisco several weeks ago, as well as their stock value plummeting precipitously. The future of allopathic medicine in its current form is now in doubt, as well as that of the global pharmaceutical cartels, since almost all of the drugs allopathic practitioners prescribe come from the pharmaceutical corporations, which have also committed vaccine fraud and injury. The existence of the deep state corporate mainstream news media will now also be further endangered, since 70% of their income stream comes from the global pharmaceutical cartel, which in America has been responsible for 750,000 to 1 million human sacrifices per year for at least the past half century. Autism rates will now likely plummet, freeing the American people from another deep state engineered debility and providing further evidence of mass vaccination caused autism. And all government officials who have passed law legalizing vaccine fraud at the state, national, or international level, or otherwise aided and abetted this vaccine fraud, can now be charged with vaccine fraud, criminal malfeasance, and in some cases, war crimes under the Nuremberg Code. So like I said earlier, this court case is going to have a pretty far reach. There's a huge deal and will go a long way in aiding people in the fight against forced vaccination, which has been revealed in multiple plans of depopulation that have been declassified in the recent years. But, um, it's all out there for the world to see. I'll leave a link in the description for this article for anyone who wants to check it out and pass it along. But if you're anti-vaxxer, if you know anti-vaxxers who haven't heard about this case, then I encourage you to share this with them and get their input. Just wanted to share that with you. That's all I got for this one. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Thank you.